Good morning. I will call this meeting of State Government Finance and Policy Committee to order on Thursday, January 23rd, 2025. A quorum is present, and I would entertain a motion to move the minutes from the previous meeting of January 21st. Representative Anderson moves the minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. So today we have with us Vice Chair Davis, who's gracefully making his way to the testifier's podium. And we will be moving House File 2. Representative Davis, would you like to move your bill before the committee?
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. I would like to move House File 2 before the committee.
To your bill.
It is my pleasure to present this bill to you, a bill on mandatory fraud reporting. In my district where I come from, folks can't stand paying more in taxes. Can you relate? The ever-growing beast of government keeps taking more and more from hardworking Minnesotans. And it drives them absolutely bonkers when they see their tax dollars being fraudulently abused through our state agencies. This should not be. In recent years and even months, we keep seeing headlines about waste, fraud, and abuse. Whether it be the CCAP fraud from 2017, the Feeding Our Future scandal that stole more than $250 million from taxpayers nationwide, the Minnesota Department of Education bearing the responsibility for that one, or the more recent child autism centers that information is now coming out and we're learning about. And I can't help but think that there is much more yet to come. The time to act is years beyond us. There was a time when in Minnesota history when we were known for being a quiet state, responsible in government, accountable in our agencies and administration, and respected by our neighboring states. Those days are gone since Governor Walz has come to power. For years now, Democrats and Governor Walz have ignored Republican pleas for accountability. For years, they have ignored common sense reports and recommendations from the Office of Legislative Auditor. And I believe that HF 2, House File 2, addresses these issues. Section 1 of the bill, agencies must report fraud. If an employee of a state agency has reason to suspect the existence of fraud in a program administered by the agency, the employee or agency must immediately notify law enforcement and the chairs and ranking minority members of the House of Representatives and Senate committees with jurisdiction over the agency's operating budget. Section 2 states that organization charts must be posted online and easy to find on the website. A full organizational chart and staff contacts for director and divisional level positions must be posted online on agency websites. Section 3 and 4 mandates unannounced in-person site visits are required to verify grant recipients doing work as claimed in grants and determining financial stability, the financial stability of organizations. So you got to make sure that the organization actually exists and that they are financially responsible. And it also deals with criminal penalties imposed for failing to do so, for failing to follow the commissioner's directives laid out in this bill. Section 5 deals with mandatory reporting on violations of grant processes. A state employee who discovers evidence of violation of laws or rules governing grants must, it used to say encouraged to, or it does say currently in state statute that they're encouraged to. We're going to change that language to they must report the violation or suspected violation to the employee's supervisor, the commissioner, or the commissioner's designee, and the legislative auditor. Section 6 through 9 deals with obligations of grantees. You can read about that. Section 10 deals with criminal charges or convictions. Each grant agreement must provide that the agreement will immediately be suspended if the recipient is charged with a criminal offense relating to a state grant agreement and terminated if the recipient is convicted. And the same concepts in this bill that are mandated on agencies will also be mandated upon nonprofits through grant making and grant oversight legislation. Members, that is the bill. Thank you for listening, and I'm looking forward to discussion.
Representative Davis, do you have testifiers?
I do not.
I see the OLA is in the room. Were you intending to? No, she is not. Okay, member questions. Representative Anderson.
Thanks, Mr. Chair, and thanks for the bill, Representative Davids. Just a clarification, new language on page 1 says the employee must report immediately to law enforcement and then the House and the Senate. And then on page 3, lines 18 and 19, they must report to the supervisor. Is it either or both, or how do you clarify those
So
two?
hang on.
Representative Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative Anderson, you are looking at line 1.9.
Representative Anderson.
Mr. Chair, yes, that's correct. That entire first paragraph, beginning at 1.10, 1.11, yes.
Yep, yes.
Davis?
It makes it very clear that law enforcement must be notified and the ranking members of the House and Senate, and that is an employee of a state agency. And then what is your next line, or your next, where were you going, Mr. Chair?
Representative Anderson.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. On page 3, lines 17, 18, 19 talks about must report to the employee's supervisor, commissioner, or designee. Is it either or both?
Representative Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No, it's making clear that state employees must report to law enforcement and the ranking members and minority members of each house. And yes, they must report a state employee who discovers a violation. They must report it to the supervisor, commissioner, or commissioner's designee, and the legislative auditor. Now, I know that's a lot of reporting, but I would hope as a state employee, they could handle it.
Representative Anderson, anything further? Other questions? Representative Quam.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think there could be some inclusion of a appropriate inspector general. Some areas and departments have that type of a function, so that should be included because there's an existing process. And then also the law enforcement, informing law enforcement. I know that there has been I guess somewhat of a history of where the auditor and others have certain agencies, groups, or departments that they, within law enforcement, that they contact depending on the, what the crime might be. So I'm thinking there could be maybe some language, added for suggestive direction to these or other appropriate. So there's more clarity. But, I think, the whole intent is great. I think it's very compatible with other bills that are being presented this session. So tied together, we'll have a system that will help both the employees, because we have people that are scared to come forward and be whistleblowers and retribution. But they care enough about what they do to where they want to not have these bad things happen over and over, which we hear some of them because of the legislative auditor comes across them. But I want to thank the author and mention to the chair that I'm willing to assist in maybe some of the additional wordsmithing, especially once we have other bills come before us that interact with this. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Representative Quam. And I'll just take a moment. Mr. Sullivan, would people who made these reports to the respective law enforcement agencies, would they be covered under whistleblower statute?
Mr. Chair and members, I believe that they would. There's a general whistleblower protection statute under state labor law. My understanding is that applies to all employees, public and private sector, but if I'm wrong, I'll get back to the committee with more information.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Just wanted to put that on the record because I know that when you're making reports of things of this nature, sometimes reprisals do happen. And I just want to make sure that because this is an important issue, we want to ensure that folks are covered under whistleblower protection that we have in statute. Representative Joy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you to the bill author for this, Representative Davis. This is a good bill. One of the things I think as this moves along too, maybe we should consider that when fraud is reported and we find some issues in this, funding should stop immediately, cease it right at that point until the investigation would be done. I mean, that's one of the suggestions I would have too on this bill, because we report a fraud, we know there's an issue going on, but they continue to get funding. I think it should halt at that moment until we get the investigation. And just like anything else, I mean, in my private world, when things happen, we put employees on suspension or we do things to slow the roll. So thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Bill author.
Representative Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Representative Joy, for the kind words. The bill actually already addresses that in Section 10. It says each grant agreement subject to sections must provide that the agreement will immediately be suspended if the recipient is charged with a criminal offense. So not convicted, but charged, and it's suspended because you are innocent till proven guilty. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Representative Anderson, you have another question.
Yeah, thanks again, Mr. Chair. And I bring this item up for discussion amongst the committee. I notice in our research, it lists opponents, and one listed the Minnesota Council of Nonprofits. And it just strikes me, wonder why they would oppose a bill such as this, which seeks to promote good governance and fiscal use of money. To the bill author, Representative Davis, were there any contact with you in terms of opposition to this bill? And were you surprised by seeing opposition from the Council of Nonprofits?
Representative Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I am surprised because I would think everybody in the state of Minnesota, especially the taxpayers are all for this. They're tired of waste, fraud, and abuse going on, and it seems like every year we're finding out a new story and new information or a new conviction. So yes, I am a little surprised by that, but as of yet, I have had no one personally contacting me saying, what are you doing here? So, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Representative Anderson, further? Representative Sexton.
Good morning, Chair. Representative Davis, is there any thought in paragraph 1 to including contract employees so that they have a method for reporting fraud and be protected under the Whistleblower Act?
Representative Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I'm absolutely open to that. We can talk more about that, yep.
Representative Sexton, anything further?
Nothing further, sir.
And just for the committee's sake, we are going to be laying this over because we do not have a fiscal note yet, and my commitment is to not move bills out of committee without a fiscal note so that Representative Joy doesn't have to offer up amendments for varying degrees of spending of $1, $2, $3, $4, and $5. So that's my commitment, and in the interim between when the fiscal note becomes available and when we move this out of committee, perhaps you can consult with the various representatives that have had questions, and perhaps the committee administrator can work with you to reach out to the Minnesota Council of Nonprofits and encourage them to show up and express their concerns in something more detailed than a letter. So any further questions from the committee? Representative Davis, closing words.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I am grateful for the questions. I obviously wish we actually had more to further help refine this bill to get it across the finish line. Hopefully that changes in the future, but I'll just say this, Minnesota taxpayers, this is a nonpartisan issue. They're done with the state of Minnesota and this administration wasting, abusing, and finding fraud is being done with their taxpayer dollars. Chair Nash, I love it when you pull out your wallet and you tap it on the desk, because that's where the tax dollars come from And it is immoral for state agencies to turn a blind eye to the fraud that's happened over the last, how many years? 7 years, 8 years in our state. And I'm looking forward to us moving forward. This is a nonpartisan issue. We can get this fixed. It's not too late. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, and with that, House File 3 will be laid over for future date. I'll revise that for the notes, House File 2. I had House File 3 on the brain. Members, next on the agenda, we have a discussion of the governor's budget proposal. We had asked varying agencies to come in and share with us their proposals. Sadly, we had a series of emails saying that they chose to not join us. And I find that regrettable. And, you know, one of the things about being here in the legislature is we oftentimes reach out to people in agencies and commissioners and so on. And with the pace that we'll sometimes see later down the road, we hope that we can get them in. So when we reach out to them, we hope that we can fit them into the schedule and that they're amenable to that. But there's no guarantee that moving down the road that that's going to become available. So our discussion on item number 4 on the agenda is going to be quite brief because they chose not to show up. So with that, I think we're done. Yeah, so enjoy the rest of your day and the time that we would have been here in committee. So with that, we are adjourned.